Hello and welcome to the weekly Blackpool FC preview show. I'm Jed Mills, and coming up today, we'll reflect on Blackpool's last two performances against Charlton Athletic and Crewe. CJ Hamilton discusses his return from injury. Head coach Neil Critchley looks ahead to this weekend's home game against AFC Wimbledon. We'll catch up with former Seasiders favourite DJ Campbell, and Jerry Yates answers your questions. Joining me in the studio, making a second consecutive appearance this week, is Blackpool legend Brett Ormerod. Brett, we said last week on the programme about what a big week this is. We're 2 games in, 4 points from those 2 games. He's going to be a little bit disappointed with the timing of that second goal against Crewe, but 4 points from 2 really good teams. He's got to be happy, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the performance of especially Charlton, I didn't see Crewe, but I've seen the highlights of Charlton and they were absolutely fantastic. Jerry Yates, 2 penalties, and Matty Virtue, a fantastic strike. So really good result all round. Yeah,
so just like I say, looking at some of those highlights, that goal from Matty Virtue, that's the kind of player he is, isn't he? From when he came into the club, that's what people were thinking he was going to do. And I say Neil Critchley's just getting the best out of him all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a good player. He took the ball in. If you don't close Matty Virtue down, he's going to have a strike, and 9 out of 10 times he's going to hit the target. I saw him score a fantastic goal a couple of weeks ago against Wigan, and an even better one against Sunderland a couple of seasons ago. So he's definitely got the ability.
Being compared to you last week, Jerry Yates, another couple of goals as well, penalties, but I say they all count, don't they?
Of course, there is a strike. You tell Jerry Yates that they don't count. Yeah, strikes. I mean, I was never on penalties a lot myself. But yeah, I mean, his confidence, like I say, he's absolutely flying at the moment. Never looked in any doubt, smashed him, put plenty of power on him, and get a keeper no chance.
Yeah, and getting goals from different places on the pitch as well, like the Crewe Alexandria game as well. Defenders scoring, great corner in as well. I know that they just showed the sort of second corner where the goal came from, but the one before that was cleared away, just identical, putting pressure on the goalkeeper.
Yeah, again, Crewe, another tough game for Blackpool. I watched them beat Aki Stanley a couple of weeks ago for the radio, and they were fantastic. They're getting together. Dave Artell's putting a really good team together down there. So it's never going to be an easy game, but like you said, the quality of the set piece, crossed, and Dan Balawi and header. But it was disappointing for Crewe to score later on, but a good performance all round still.
A big boost for Blackpool in the draw with Crewe was the long-awaited return of CJ Hamilton.
I stare through the night with hope in my eyes, lost in your green light. 2 parallel lines, alike and divine, forever distant. I do what I can to catalyze coincidence. Yeah, I'll take different routes home to bring me closer to that name on my throne that I dream about.
Well, Brett, just watching some of those highlights there of CJ Hamilton, we've talked about him before, but it is his pace that is just, incredible in this division.
Yeah, I mean, he just gives you that different dimension, that different option that no one else gives you in the squad, and he's just got absolutely blistering pace. But it'd be unfair just to go on about his pace and say that's all he's got, because he's becoming a better player every game, and it was a shame he got injured when he did. I mean, technically, he's getting better all the time. He's got a fantastic left foot, and he's chipping in with some really important goals.
Yeah, is that something that you've seen improve? Just like say maybe his confidence, and like say that final ball, that goal as well at the end of maybe a passage of play.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how from the beginning of the season up to when he got injured, how better he was getting. Is it the importance? I think Neil Critchley, his coaching is really rubbing off on him. I think the lads that he's playing with, he looks like he's enjoying himself. They look like we've got a really good team spirit, and it's all coming together. And like I said, it was a shame he got injured when he did, because he was playing really, really well.
Well, here is the winger discussing how pleased he was to return to action.
It was a relief, to be fair. Obviously, you've been out over 10 weeks now, and to get back out on the pitches is what you always aim for when you do get injured. And to be back out there was happy. I was happy.
What has it been like these last few months to be sat on the sidelines and not be involved?
It was tough, because this is probably my first long injury my first ever injury in my professional career. So obviously, it's hard to come by, but obviously it's about getting back out there, doing the right rehab stuff, and the physios here and the fitness staff here have just worked wonders and helped me out massively throughout it.
Is that one of the sort of downsides to having explosive pace, that you're sort of open to the hamstring problems?
Yeah, a lot of people have been surprised. I haven't had any injuries like that before, but obviously I've always looked after myself, and unfortunately it was a time where we should have had a game, and but it just goes like that sometimes, and just get on with it and get back on the pitch and now try to stay fit.
Yeah, exactly that. It should have been the Rochdale game, and instead you're in a training session, and that's where the injury came about.
Yeah, it's just unlucky things like that sometimes happen, and obviously it was just a bad day, but now I'm back fit. Hopefully I can stay fit for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you played a behind closed doors game to get 45 minutes last week, and then the game in midweek, so feeling good from those?
Yeah, obviously the running that Stuart's had me doing and stuff like that has always built me up to be able to go into the game against behind closed doors, as you say, and get 45 minutes, which is well needed, because it's come back a bit rusty after being out for so long, but yeah, and then to get more minutes the other night was good.
It's going to be pretty easy to catch up in some ways, isn't it? Because there's so many games, but at the same time you just got to take your time with those games and find the right balance.
Yeah, that's it. Obviously there's nearly 18 games left still, but it's about looking after myself and not, as you say, I think the staff are going to look after me with the minutes wise and making sure I get integrated properly and not back too fast, otherwise you're prone to more injuries again. So hopefully I can play as many games as I can though.
After his cameo in midweek, CJ will be hoping to feature against AFC Wimbledon on Saturday. Head coach Neil Critchley shares his thoughts ahead of the game.
The new manager's obviously come in and tried to implement a different style of game. And that takes a little bit of time for his ideas to come across onto the pitch. But you can see there's a slight change in style in how they want to approach the game. And we know from early on in the season they've got some good players, and it's like any game in this division. If you're not prepared mentally, if you're not prepared tactically, if physically you're just off it, then teams can beat you. They can hurt you, and Wimbledon will be no different. And they've had a good point against Shrewsbury on Tuesday, and we know from experience what a difficult place that is to go and get something. So they'll be looking now to back that point up, and we're going to have to be again slightly better in areas of the pitch than what we were on Tuesday night, but we've got good home form. We're playing well, we've got some good momentum, so I'm expecting a really good game again.
You mentioned that home form, even though it was a point in midweek, it extended it to 8 unbeaten in the league at home. That's the sort of form you need, isn't it, if you're going to do the business in the running?
Yeah, and there'll be ups and downs, and we've spoken about this. We can't expect to go and win every single game. It's how you bounce back, and the players were disappointed to draw on Tuesday night, and that tells you a lot about what our expectations as a group. So we want to put that right on Saturday, and the home form has been good, and we want people to come to Blackpool knowing that and thinking we're going to have to play really well today to get anything from the game, and that can give you advantage before the game started. But then it's up to us to impose that onto the opposition you're playing against. If you don't, then you can quickly find yourselves on the back foot. We didn't do that on Tuesday night against Crewe. We grew into the game and got better, but we need to start better than what we did, say, against Crewe on Tuesday night, against Wimbledon on Saturday.
So that was Neil Critchley there ahead of this weekend's game against Wimbledon. As we talked about before, it's been really good so far. They've got a win, they've got a draw, 4 points going into this one. It's Wimbledon though, even though their form's not been great, it's going to be a tough one.
It is, definitely. They've got a relatively new manager of Wimbledon, Mark Robinson. They've won a couple of games, but probably lost and drawn too many. Find themselves in 4th place, I think, the last relegation zone. But that'll bring its own challenges for Blackpool. A team that are down there fighting is sometimes harder than playing a midweek team, a mid-table team. Sorry. So it will be a difficult game, as they all are, because there's no rubbish teams in this league. But I think if Blackpool play to their potential, it's a game that they should win, really.
Well, after hearing from a CJ earlier, it's now time to hear from a DJ. Former Blackpool striker DJ Campbell scored 33 goals in 69 appearances in 3 separate stints with the Seasiders. He recently caught up for an exclusive chat with the club and starts by revealing how his initial move to Bloomfield Road first came about.
Obviously, I was at Leicester for a while, was injured a lot. Obviously, I fell out with a few of the managers there. So it wasn't going well. So it was probably a wrong decision in my career to go to Leicester at the time. great club, obviously great fans and stuff like that. But that specific time in my career, it probably wasn't the right thing, especially coming off of a good season, couple seasons with Birmingham. Sorry. So anyway, I went to Leicester, and it was I had the decision, to be fair. So it was either stay at Leicester and do what I'm doing, or go to Blackpool at the time. Obviously, Blackpool was, it was far. It was cold. So all of these decisions, came in my mind, and it was more for me about playing football. So it wasn't the aspect of, obviously, Leicester, a massive club at the time, and Blackpool, a fairly smaller club at the time. It was more of a decision that I made because I wanted to play, basically, And to be honest with you, Stuart, it's the best decision I've ever made, mate. It was such a, obviously I never envisaged what would happen in the long run, but that was, at that time, that was exactly what I needed in my career, and it worked out brilliantly.
You build up a great relationship with the fans, and then you go back to Leicester.
Yeah.
And then that summer, rather than obviously being back at Blackpool initially, it's to Derby. But then you come back to Blackpool in a similar sort of year later from when you first signed. Was it an easy decision? Did you have to have conversations with Ian Holloway? Did he have to convince you? Because obviously it was slightly different, even though the personnel was the same.
I'll tell you another story. Ian came to Leicester when I was there. I don't know if you know that, and we kind of didn't get on. So obviously Ian came. I was looking forward to a new manager coming in, a fresh start. But he kind of carried the same kind of how can I put it? Not mentality, but it was just the same kind of routine that I was in for the last 3 years in my Leicester career. So nothing changed. So it was a tough one because we didn't really see eye to eye. We didn't obviously fall out or anything, but it was just like, okay, new start for me, new manager, back in the squad. I'm fit now. I'm ready to go. And it was kind of like he stuck with the same stuff. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, he went into Blackpool, and if I can be honest, at the time, because we didn't really not get on, but as I said, the situation at Leicester, I was kind of like, well, can I go back there now? Ian's there. And I was kind of thinking, do I want to go back there now? Ian's there, which is obviously funny, as you see now, because we're very close now. I spoke to Ian not long ago, but yeah, so that was strange for me. Then obviously Ian rang me. He kind of apologized over the phone and said, look, D, we want you back here. Sorry for what's happened in Leicester. I should have gave you the opportunity. All of this. So, as I said, I was grateful for that because he didn't have to do that. But he could see what kind of person I was and that I just wanted to play football, and he apologized for that. And again, that was the end of it. And then that's when I decided to come back to Blackpool. Had a few other offers, but obviously the time I had at Blackpool the first time with Tony, it was, I loved the club. I loved Blackpool. It just fitted what I wanted to do. It was quiet. I was away from everything else. My family could come up, by the sea and all of that stuff. So yeah, it was good. I decided to go back, and that was it. What great decision on my behalf, to be honest. So yeah.
Let's talk about that night at the City Ground in that second leg at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
Where does that rank in your career, that hat trick and that game?
Yeah, it's special. And the funny thing is, my wife's from Nottingham as well, so she was there. All the family was there, so it was a special night. It was it's a stuff made of dreams, wasn't it? Really, Obviously, as I said, we believed we could do it. We beat Forest before, so we knew we could go there and win it. It was a tough, at the time, Forest at home was a tough fixture, but As I said, we beat them before, so we knew we could beat them. But it was just the whole occasion to do it how we did it on the day. Obviously, to score 3 goals. It was just all special. The game before that Forest game, I dislocated my elbow. So my elbow was strapped up, so it was, I weren't sure whether I could play or not. But as I said, it was just amazing.
That was DJ Campbell there. Brett, I mean, fond memories there. So some great just conversations, and we'll get on to quite a few of them. But first of all, let's talk about him coming into the club. A very similar time to you at that 2009.
Yeah, I came back in January. I think DJ had arrived a week prior to me. Charlie Adam came in a week later. So again, I mean, it's interesting. He speaks of the significance at the time, and that was the same as me when I came back. I was very in a position that I'd such a good time at the club last time. I didn't want to ruin that. But yeah, I mean, he had 3 spells with us, and I was lucky enough to be there all 3 times. He was fantastic, a great lad, but fantastic goal scorer.
Did you know at the time in that 2009, like you say, there was you coming back, DJ coming back, Charlie Adam coming into the team. Did you know at the time there was potential of something special? Obviously what happened is stuff dreams are made of, but did you sort of realise as a player thinking, actually, yeah, that something could happen here?
No, not really. I mean, definitely not. When we all came in, we were just trying to keep Blackpool in the Championship, and it was a struggle. It's a very difficult league as it is. And we managed to get the results that kept us up in the end, but every game was really, really tough, and Dean certainly played his part in it.
Talks about that mentality of from just staying up in the Championship. I remember the season Blackpool went into the Premier League. You were supposed to get relegated that season, and where was that mentality shift really from thinking we're just going to stay up to we can do something?
It was Ian Holloway when he first came in. We had a meeting at Bloomfield, here at Bloomfield, and he just had this board with 4-3-3. He had positions wrote out, but with no names. And he just said, "Look, I've been watching Barcelona and Spain, and I want to play 4-3-3, and this is how I want to play from now on." He said, "I've been a manager and a player, and I've always played 4-4-2 and all that." He said, "If I ever get sacked again, I'm going to get sacked playing football that I actually enjoy watching." And stuff, and Charlie had come in at the beginning of that season, which we didn't think we'd get. He was a massive thing for us, not just as a player, but for the collective squad. Because if you ask Keith Southern and me, if we knew we had something special. But when Charlie came in, and then DJ came came back into January, and it was he played a massive part in us getting up. He scored some goals. I mean, obviously he's referred to the hat-trick at Nottingham Forest, which, what a game he was. That's probably the best. I mean, he's gone on. He scored goals for us in the Premier League, and but that night in the Championship, he was unplayable. And him and Dobbs, who came on for me, actually, were absolutely fantastic. The finishing was top class, and it's one of them games that you just never get bored of watching.
Yeah, you talk about him being a good lad. What was he like in the dressing room, DJ?
Just a good lad, I mean, he was just one of the boys. We had such a close knit group, which is unusual. We still have a WhatsApp group. We still talk all the time. We're all, it's something I've never had in football, because you used to say you have friends, you know friends in football, just acquaintances, and for long-term friends like Paul McKenna, I grew up with as kids, and played against and things like that. It's probably true to a certain extent, but not we are lads, we still comment on, we're always commenting on Evo at the moment, who's managing Bolton, and congratulating him and stuff. So there's still plenty of banter and that goes on in that group.
And you talk about that game, the City Ground against Forest. I mean, for people of that generation, for Blackpool fans of the generation, they will always say that probably lives in their memory as the absolute pinnacle for them. Obviously, you got the Wembley game, but just leading up to that, what was it like to maybe at the start, in the dressing room start, you talked about believing in at the end. Yeah,
I mean, it was one of them things. I mean, we went behind. We were 2-1 up from the first leg, and they scored straight away with Rob Earnshaw. But by then we had this mentality, and we took it into the final. I think we won the last 11 games or the last 10 games, and pretty much every game we'd gone behind. but we just had this mentality, and I'd never had it before or since, that once we scored, it didn't panic because we just got the ball and we knew we were going to score. And Forest, you know, they were undoubtedly the favourites. They thought, you know, all right, we might have nicked a win at Bloomfield, but they'll definitely get us here. They were unbeaten. We were the last team to beat them there in September the previous year, and to be honest, they probably, you know, deserved to win that game. But you know, we beat Forest 4 times that season, and they beat all the top teams and stuff. So to go to Forest and go behind like we did, score, we went behind again. You know, it was an unbelievable game. It was an unbelievable night. But you know, DJ was definitely the star player for us that night, and his goals were absolutely unbelievable.
And you played with some great strikers as well, DJ being one of them.
Yeah.
But what did he bring? What was he good at for you?
Well, he just showed his quality. He was always cheery, you know, and he's one of them strikers that he never seemed to let his head get down if he missed a chance. You know, when like I said, when we first came here, his goals really contributed to keeping us up. When he came back, his goals and his personality again just give us that extra boost that, you know, took us into the playoffs and we got promotion. And then when he came back in the Premier, he was banging goals in it. You know, it was just anything's possible with that group of lads. And obviously we were adding to it all the time. We were having Tom Ince coming in, Matty. Phillips, who come in as well. Young lads who were replacing the older people like myself and that, but were coming in and getting tucked up in that euphoria and going on and really, I mean, Matty Phillips in the Premier League that season, some of the appearances he made, he was absolutely phenomenal. I remember him playing against Sunderland and taking half the team on. You know, we were sat on the bench like we were Joe's home. So, you know, it was that squad, that manager, that old euphoria. Everyone who came in just got swept up in it. And if they didn't really last long at Blackpool. You had to have that working hard mentality, but you also, you know, it had to be a certain kind of lad. We had no big time lads. We were in it together.
Well, I say there's so much of that interview. You can catch the full in-depth interview with DJ Campbell on the club's YouTube channel. That's on Monday. Well, from a former Blackpool top scorer to the current one, Jerry Yates spent time this week to answer some of your questions.
Jerry, the fans have sent in some questions to you on social media. Are you ready to go ahead and answer them?
All right, to the best of my ability.
So firstly, Tristan asks, what attracted you to come to Blackpool?
Obviously spoke to Keshi, and he obviously told me a lot about the place, and then obviously the main one is Pepsi Biggin.
Rory asks, what music do you put on in the dressing room?
I think it varies, to be fair, but I think Chris usually gets on the music, so he just varies it up, to be fair.
And Jamie asks, who has the best banter in the squad?
Best banter? There's a few, to be fair. I'd probably go Gary, just because, well, he wore my Ugg boots out into training one time. I'm not forgiving him for that. He's getting back.
Peter asks, which player in the dressing room has the worst dress sense?
James' husband. Terrible.
Alex asks, what was your first football shirt and did you have a name on the back?
Oh, what were it? It probably a Doncaster Rovers shirt, if I'm honest, because obviously I supported them when I was younger, local team and that, but I don't know if I had a number or name.
Alfie asks, who's your closest mate in the squad?
I'm going to have to stick with Keshi. Yeah, I've known Keshi the longest, so we've all been quite close at Swindon in here, so yeah, I'd say Keshi.
And Brandon asks, how tough were those first 9 league games before scoring your first league goal, and did it take a toll on your confidence, or were you confident throughout that you would score regularly?
Yeah, obviously it's not a great feeling going nine games without scoring, so it did take its toll a bit, but once I got my first one, and it was a nice feeling, I was cracked on from there, yeah.
Mark asks, did Lionel Messi send you a message when you scored that goal against Northampton?
No, unfortunately not. But I got a few nice messages, yeah.
Bodie asks, what has been the highlight of your season so far?
Probably that goal, I think, or maybe my first one at Burton. I think it was just sigh of relief and weight off my shoulder. Yeah.
Lisa says, who is the best player you've played with and also against in your career?
Oh, with. Probably as a partner, it's got to be Gary, hasn't it? As a partner, yeah, Gary. Obviously technically gifted, Joe Newell, who plays for Hibs now. He's very good, yeah. He's very good, yeah.
That one on Gary leads us nicely on to the next question.
Yeah.
What's it like with yourself and Gary Medine being compared to Dwight York and Andy Cole, asks Matty.
But yeah, well, Gary sent me the photo when it first come out. It's just funny, isn't it? It's a nice comparison, but it's what it is, yeah.
And lastly, Steve asks, do you have a goal target for this season?
Yeah, but I'll keep that to myself, yeah.
Well, there were your questions and answers from Jerry Yates, likened to you, Brett, which you were loving last time, and a couple more on his tally from last time we spoke as well, and that is just all to do with confidence, surely, as a striker.
Oh, definitely. When he came in, he didn't score for quite a bit, but he was out on the left, and I said at the time, me and Chizzy, he just didn't look comfortable. But I think it was the Burton game that he'd all turned around away when he got his goal, and you could see it lift. A weight had been lifted from his shoulders, and obviously we Gary Medine coming back into the team. They've stuck up a really good partnership, and again they've just gone from strength to strength. The confidence he's oozing. I mean, he scores all different kinds of goals. He's there for tap-ins, but he can get. He's not scared of having a goal from 20 yards. But I mean, some of the goals he scored this season have been absolutely fantastic, and he's just a player that's fulfilling his potential and showing Blackpool fans everything that they thought he was when he came here.
Yeah, he came with a reputation, didn't he, from Swindon? And do you think that was maybe, like say, as you know, as a professional and going somewhere and people think, oh, he scored lots of goals at another team? Can that sometimes put that pressure on at times?
Yeah, of course it can. I mean, you can say it doesn't and things like that, but as a striker and you go into a new team, you want to score as early as possible. And the longer that continues, the more that it can affect you. And it's difficult sometimes to say, no, you just brush it aside, because football doesn't work like that. And like I said, when he seemed to be on as a free and he was on the left, he did look like a bit of a fish out of water. He wasn't playing his preferred position. He was getting frustrated and things like that. But since he's played up front, and especially with Medine, they've worked. They've got a really good understanding. And some of the goals he's scoring now are absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I suppose it's hard, isn't it, in training as a striker? You think, just go and score lots of goals in training. I suppose you can't replicate what a match goal can do for a striker.
Yeah, training, it's a totally different thing. You can't really, replicate a first-team football match. It's even different now. I don't know what it's like for the lads now out there, because it must be eerie in a sense, because I've never played under these conditions where there's just no one allowed in the stadium and stuff, and it can feel a bit, I don't know, maybe a bit like reserved gamey-ish or at times or things, and sometimes the fans, I think if there's one thing that's hopefully good that's come out of this pandemic is proved to football clubs how important fans really are, because they're the ones who can turn a game for you. You get games where you're 4-1 down, the fans are behind you and they end up winning 5-4. They play a massive part.
Well, keep your eyes peeled on the club's social media channels over the coming days to see how you can send your questions in to former Blackpool goalkeeper, now coach Steve Banks, for next week's show. And don't forget, you can watch Saturday's game live by purchasing a match pass from the club's official website. Well, thanks for watching, and see you again at the same time next week.